Hey everyone, today we are diving into one of the wildest, most fascinating, and frankly, most controversial ideas in all of science, de-extinction. We're going to look at the incredible dream of bringing animals back from the dead, and then get real about the huge risks involved. So let me just ask you something right off the bat. Would you actually like to see a living, breathing, woolly mammoth? I don't mean in a museum. I mean walking around on the Earth again. Because, this whole idea has jumped right off the movie screen and into the science lab. What used to be pure fantasy is now a serious scientific possibility.
All right, so let's start with the dream itself. This powerful, almost magical idea of literally reversing extinction.
The official name for this is de-extinction. And yeah, at its heart, it's pretty much exactly what it sounds like, the process of resurrecting a species that has completely died out and bringing it back. And look, this is not just some theory being kicked around. There are actual teams of scientists right now actively working to revive some of these incredible creatures. We're talking the woolly mammoth, the passenger pigeon, the Tasmanian tiger, even the dodo. Which, of course, leads to the one big question on everyone's mind. How? How on earth is this even possible? Let's take a look at the actual scientific blueprint. Well, the key to all of this, the real game changer, is a technology you might have heard of called CRISPR. It's an incredibly powerful tool that lets scientists go into an organism's DNA and make very precise edits, almost like using a word processor. So here's how it works, broken down. First, scientists have to get ancient DNA, say from a frozen mammoth, and piece its genetic code back together. Then, they take that code and compare it to its closest living cousin, in this case, the Asian elephant. Now, this is where CRISPR comes in. They edit the elephant's DNA, swapping in the mammoth genes for things like that iconic shaggy fur or the ability to survive in the cold. And the final step, that newly edited DNA could be used to create a hybrid embryo. Okay, this is a really crucial point to understand. We're not talking about making a perfect clone here. The end result isn't the passenger pigeon, version 1.0. It's more like version 2.0. It's a brand new, genetically engineered hybrid that's designed to look and act like the original, but it's built on the DNA of a living species. So it's a functional copy, not an exact replica. So now that we have a sense of how this could work, let's get into the why. Why are people pouring so much effort into this? What's the big promise here? Well, the people who support this have some pretty compelling arguments. They talk about restoring entire ecosystems. Think about it, the mammoth wasn't just a big furry animal. It was a keystone species, like a giant gardener for the Arctic. This work could also unlock incredible new scientific knowledge. And for many, it's also a matter of justice, a way to right a wrong for the species that we humans drove to extinction. And let's be honest, there's just the sheer awe of it all.
But for every beautiful dream, you have to wake up to reality. And the reality of de-extinction is that it is an enormous ecological gamble. It's packed with risks and a whole lot of unknowns.
Yeah, the skeptics are raising some serious red flags. You've got huge animal welfare questions for the creatures themselves. What if they carry ancient diseases we have no defense against? But maybe the biggest worry is about resources. With so many animals on the brink of extinction right now, will these flashy projects suck up all the money and attention? And of course, hanging over all of this is that massive ethical question. Just because we can do this, does that mean we should? But beyond all that, what if the greatest danger isn't something new and unknown, but something we have a long, painful history of getting wrong? And here's the fear that keeps a lot of invasion biologists up at night. You're not actually reintroducing an old species into its old home. You are creating a new genetically engineered animal and introducing it into a world that is completely changed without it. It is, for all intents and purposes, an alien species. And if you think that sounds a little dramatic, just look at this quote. Back in 1859, a guy in Australia thought releasing a few rabbits would be a nice touch of home. It seemed harmless, but that one decision unleashed one of the worst ecological disasters in human history. It was an absolute catastrophe. Let's bring it back to the passenger pigeon to see why this is such a problem. The world it lived in was filled with massive, ancient forests that stretched for miles. Today's world, it's industrial farms, highways, and cities. The climate is different, the plants are different. The ecosystem it was perfectly adapted for, well, it's just gone. And all of this brings us to what might be the most immediate problem of all. The fact that, for all this incredible science, there are basically no rules. The tech is moving at lightning speed, but our laws are completely stuck in the past. The simple, stark reality is that there's no global legal framework to manage this stuff. There's no international group deciding which species to bring back, where to put them, or who's on the hook if something goes terribly wrong. And if you think, well, can't we just use our existing environmental laws? The answer is not really. They just weren't designed for this. A treaty like CITES, which is all about protecting endangered species, has no way to classify a species that's suddenly unextincted. The Convention on Biological Diversity has rules for GMOs, but a revived animal doesn't really fit the definition. They could fall right through the cracks. What we're left with is this huge, dangerous regulatory void, a legal black hole. It basically leaves us staring down the barrel of what one paper called a real-life Frankenstein's mammoth. We're about to make these things with no clear rules to govern them. And at the end of the day, that's what this is all about. It's this incredible, inspiring dream of giving life a second chance, slammed up against the very sobering reality of unpredictable ecological chaos and a world that is completely legally unprepared. So let's just assume this is going to happen, and it really looks like it is. The real question isn't if we'll do it, but what comes next. The moment that first revived creature takes its first breath, how will we, as a species, react? With wonder? With fear? Or maybe, just maybe, with a sense of responsibility that we haven't always shown in the past? That's the real question we're all going to have to answer.